Good evening and welcome back to the ever popular GT4 Championship here at Simsport Racing. The drivers are ready to tackle what is the first round of the longest calendar in the championship's history, Season 6, comprising of 7 races for the first time. It would be silly to predict anything other than unpredictability, with a grand total of 16 different race winners in the 27 races so far, and with 5 champions from 5 seasons to date. Every single title has gone down to the wire in the final race, and never before the checkered flag has been waved. But every journey begins with a single step, and every champion must begin their title charge at race 1. And tonight, the Zolder circuit plays host to the first round of the season. The 10-turn, 4.011 kilometre circuit is something of a street circuit in the forest, a mini 𝗬𝗪𝗕𝗓, if you will. Close chicanes, narrow sections, and wolves eager to claim their victims. I'm Tim Fulbrook, once again back to lead you through the trials and tribulations, ebbs and flows, and the scratches and scrapes of the GT4 Championship, and I'm delighted to welcome into the commentary box for the first time Martin-Pilkington, race winner in the Championship. Aaron, we both know what it's like to race in this series, but with the top 15 reverse grid, how important is this first race of the season?
Oh, super crucial, and thanks for having me along. But this is really important to establish your own path, as if it will be in this championship. You've got to be getting a good qualification, because it's the only qualification you're going to have. Obviously, like you say, you're going to have a reverse grid, but it's narrow, like 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗏. You know, it's close proximity racing. If you're a car that's made of paper mache, you kind of need to not be battling that much, and you need to be getting ahead. You know, like the KTM's that we can see on the track. Like you got to break away really early, and that's really important.
So, obviously, rounding off the end of last season, Benjamin Tusting of Mob 7 Esports was champion, closely followed by Matt Richards and 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏. Season 5 went all the way down to the wire, and we're looking forward to more of the same this time round. So, Aaron, a brilliant championship ahead in terms of the tracks. Zolder this evening, we then go to Bathurst, Ricard, Imola, Suzuka, Donington, and then the final at Laguna Seca on the 23rd of June. Any of those races stand out to you in particular, and any kind of action that you're looking forward to at that particular circuit?
Yeah, no, it's going to be really nice to... we didn't get to go to Laguna Seca in the previous season because of the DLC that came out, so it's going to be nice to revisit Laguna Seca as well. But what's really interesting and important to note about the Simsport Championship is the weather conditions. Completely versatile. You never know what you're really going to get, and that's what makes this championship so brilliant, is because you have to prepare for everything.
And tonight the drivers will be preparing, as mentioned, for the only qualifying session of the season. So the race format tonight will be a 10-minute qualifying, which will set the grid for a 45-minute race. But that's the only time we will have a qualifying session this season. Then the top 15 are reversed for the grid at round 2 at Bathurst. Then the result from Bathurst, top 15 are flipped, and so on and so forth. So although it might not be a battle for the race lead, there is often a heated battle for 15th. Aaron, we often see that, don't we? At the front end of things, people are trading paint and giving each other plenty of headaches for the race victory. But down in the midfield, everyone's scrapping for that 15th place, the golden ticket, if you like, to the front row.
Yeah, there's multiple layers, if you will. It's absolute mind games. Yes, if you can go for the victory or perhaps podiums, maybe top 5, it's really worth doing so because of the point structure. But if you're not getting that, it's a serious consideration just to drop back almost. Like, I don't want to say sandbagging because that's got a dirty tone to it, but you know you're aiming to get as far as you can for the next race, right?
Exactly, and last season we saw the level of competition really step up. We had the 𝗪𝗟𝗔𝗏𝗏 back drivers, we also had Team Rocket Esports, etc. How was your season, Aaron? Obviously, you know, this is the first time you've stepped out of the GT4s. How would you rate your season, the ups and downs? Obviously, the jewel in the crown for you was the Donington race victory. So yeah, how's your season 5?
It was brilliant, like you say. Yeah, I got my first ever league win race at Donington. I was really happy that it was part of one of the Simsport Championships. I was really happy with that. Great to race against, you know, the likes of 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏 and Jensen Button. It does help, but I enjoy the looking at other people sweat. I like having an outside look at all the people with all the pressure. You know, it's all in their hands, and I just like being here in the commentary booth, really, because it's just so exciting to be here.
and then looking forward to this season, any drivers you've got an eye on? Obviously, we've both gone up against a number of the names in the field, but the likes of Aaron Walker, one of the 5 champions, and also 𝗦𝗫𝗕𝗦 and Michael O'Brien. Who have you got your eyes on?
It's got to be Luke Whitehead. I've seen his name throughout other series, other championships, other endurance races. It's nice to see him here as part of this championship in the Audi, which is not a popular car, I would have to say. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can pull out the bag with that car against the likes of, like you've already said, Walker, also Hedges, both in the KTM.
And another factor, another condition to factor in is that cars are given ballast into the season, which is then locked and carried for the remainder of the championship, a reshuffle following season 5. And that KTM is probably the car to watch with 0 ballast. The Porsche Cayman, on the other hand, being handed 50 kilos. So 𝗦𝗫𝗕𝗦 in the number 28 Zancho Simsport car is definitely going to have a lot of extra weight to carry round. And we're just hearing that the drivers are in their pre-race brief. We'll be going to qualifying shortly. And Aaron, to someone who's maybe not familiar with sim racing or maybe is new to ACC, how much can that ballast affect you? Because some cars like the Audi and the McLaren 570S have got 10 kilos. Then we say you go all the way up to the Aston Martin Vantage with 30, and then the Porsche 718 Cayman with 50. How much can that weight affect you over a 45-minute race?
Well, it affects him, it has huge ramifications on the car's performance, obviously. But having experienced the Porsche, like for the Porsche Cayman with the 50 kilos of ballast, I'm currently running that at the moment. It not with the ballast, but it's a very skittish car. It doesn't like not being off the throttle or not being on the brakes. It doesn't like being in no man's land. So maybe that 50 kilos will actually help stabilize the car. Of course, it will knock off that acceleration that it's got, and we all know anybody that's new to ACC, the Porsche Cayman is the car of choice for any track, really, apart from a few. So the 50 kilos that Simsport has given it as ballast, I think is fair, because then it levels the playing field, because there's such a huge difference in lap performance between the Cayman and everything else.
So we start then tonight at Zolder, round 1, a brilliant aerial shot brought to you by Steve Proudley, our broadcast director here at Simsport Solutions. It's a compact track, isn't it, Aaron? Look, there's plenty of corners, plenty of drama, but there's not a lot of runoff to see you escape the walls. Runoff down towards the chicane at Villeneuve. Yes, there's a nice healthy gravel track, but drop it to the inside at a certain point to the track and you'll find a concrete wall waiting for you. It's certainly intense racing here at Zolder.
Yeah, and if you focus, obviously you can see the tarmac, the circuit layout. But if you look ever so more closely, you can actually see the racing line and how narrow that is. If you're taking a look at the corners, turn 1, 2, and 3, you're really using all the curbs. It's still very narrow. It's close proximity racing. It's going to be very difficult for people to say in very small, light, compact cars. I think they may be struggling if they have to battle their way through the pack.
How do you rate the circuit, Aaron? I want to know, where does it fall in your rankings?
It's not in my top 5.
Not in your top 5? No.
No, I'm glad to get this one out of the way.
Is that from personal experience? Is this just a track maybe you don't go well at?
Yes.
Been punted a few times?
Personal experience is a huge factor when I rate my tracks. So when I think about my tracks, it's a very fluid like scheme or like a hierarchy, and things do move quite often depending on what experiences I've had. And I've had no good experiences at Zolder, so until I do, it's not in the top 5.
I'm amazed you haven't said the 2 words public lobby yet, so we'll push that one aside. But yeah, it's an exciting circuit, isn't it? Because it is so close. You haven't got the wide open Grand Prix runoff spaces to avoid cars and to make moves and sometimes get away with something. In fact, the championship last time was decided because of a penalty handed to an overtake off track. That's how close the racing is between these guys, and here at a track like Zolder, there's no margin for error. So we're certainly excited to see how the grid take to the track and how they get on. 21 drivers getting on the circuit this evening, one of those being my ex-commentary partner for the GT4's David Ressel, who's stepping into the car. He's in the number 5 Aston Martin. excited to see how David goes, and we're going to be judging his performance very strictly and very with a heavy hand, Aaron, just to, he's so used to telling people how their racing is going. I thought, why not let's comment on David's page.
Yeah, see how he likes it.
Exactly.
Put him under the spotlight. I definitely agree.
If you were to give David a tip, because this series is very intense, very competitive, what would your advice be for David taking to the circuit for the first time this evening? And he's one of 8 rookies as well in this championship.
If I was to give a piece of advice, it would be don't go into the pits. Not in sprint formats. Anyway, don't, just try and avoid that. I think, make sure, I tell you what a really important tip is, and this is something a lot of people, not even rookies, get right. Pros make this mistake. Get your fuel usage right. I've seen people think, put 40 litres in the car. Not going to mention any names. Put 40 litres in the car, and then they think they're going to walk the rest of the way, and I don't think that's going to work out. So make sure your fuel calculator's right. Get your mathematics on point. I think that's really important.
It's always intense from green flag to checkered flag. We've just seen that the session has started, so drivers are heading out on track, and we'll cut across to live images very shortly. As we've mentioned, this is the only qualifying session of this season, sets the grid for race 1. From then on, it's a reverse grid, and we're very excited to see how this one plays out. Just a quick shout out to Andrew Fife, Angus Martin and Yannick Muller, who are watching on. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoy the racing this evening. And straight out on track, we can see the season 6 grid taking to the Zolder circuit, warming up their tyres, getting their warm-up laps completed safely. It seems like a nice gaggle of cars here heading down to the Kleiner chicane. There's one of those KTMs, I believe that is Aaron Walker, who's a champion, of course, in the GT4s. Here he is. Here is Aaron Walker, sorry, just slightly ahead, going to the Villeneuve chicane. He's going to be one to watch with zero ballast on that Simsport Racing KTM. Let's see how he goes. He's also got more pole positions, I believe, than any other driver, although I'm wondering, actually, as soon as I've said that, whether it's Stephen Haley. In fact, it is Stephen Haley who holds the record for most poles. Obviously, only 5 pole positions ever handed out in the history of the championship. Now, Aaron, what was your approach to qualifying? Because, as we say, there's only one qualifying of the season. Do you got to give it absolutely everything on this one qualifying session in the season?
Yeah, and you got to, this is probably the first lap they've been out looking at the timer here. It's really important to establish in GT4, you're going to take about 3 or 4 laps to get your tyres up to warmth, before you can start really banging in those lap times. So with a 10-minute window to put your lap time in, I can't see many people going back into the pits for a second set of tyres. They're just going to have to nail it first time out, which is going to be really, really important, but super crucial for those people that maybe don't get it right on the first time. Practice makes perfect for a lot of people. And yeah, I think Aaron's going to wait a couple of laps here in this KTM.
So let's see then, as he thunders down towards the Kleiner chicane, a clean opening sector. He takes plenty of curb on the left and the right. In fact, the car skipping across the quite aggressively shaped curbs there through the chicane at turn 5, then down to the long left at turn 6, into the right, and he's gone straight on there, not getting the car stopped at all. That's how you set a quick lap. This lap will be invalidated, of course, for cutting the corner so heavily, but already we're seeing signs that drivers are pushing very hard, and like you say, Aaron, there's a lot of time on the clock. You've got to get your laps in and get them set. I suppose the only blessing is for Aaron, he's currently leading the train of cars, if you like. They're all out on track at the moment. He's got plenty of space ahead of him, so he's got time to dust himself off and go again. But already seeing, Aaron, just how ruthless this track can be.
Yeah, I mean, going through the sand trap there, the second chicane, wouldn't have done him any harm, really. Maybe knocked a couple of decimal points off the tyre pressures, which he's going to have to build back up again. But yeah, like you said, it's allowed him to extend his lead over this train of cars. He's got plenty of space front and back. He can really just concentrate on his lap. As we've gone board here with Luke Whitehead, who's a newcomer to the Simsport Championship. So welcome along. He's in the Audi, which is, I wouldn't say it's a people's car. It wasn't very popular last season. Not a lot of people drive it, but I've seen him in practice. He's got great speed in this car, especially around Zolder. So it's going to be super interesting to see what he can pull out in the Audi.
an unknown, isn't he, into the championship. Excited to see, like we say, how 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏 goes against some established competition. He's currently top of the pile at the moment as he skips across the curbs at the Kleiner chicane. He's setting the pace at the moment with a 1:35.808. He's got 0.6 over Dave Hedges in the number 88 KTM. So those are your 1-2 at the moment. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, though, on a fast lap. He's in 9th at the moment. Clearly still warming up the tyres, bringing the pressures in on his Zansho Simsport Cayman as he goes through the Villeneuve chicane, using plenty of curb. Car stepping out just slightly there through the left. It manages to gather it up. He's got one of the Camaros behind him. I think that could be 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yes, it is, in the number 4 Simsport Racing Camaro, which is currently 3rd. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 looking like he's trying to distract Dendy or just warm his tyres up on the run through into 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. But in fact, Dendy pulling over. He's having none of that. He doesn't want that Camaro behind him. And let's see then, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 coming to the line, set to improve. And as he crosses the line, he does. 0.2 of an improvement there, 1:35.601. Now the fastest lap from the driver of the number 2 H3 Racing Audi. Let's see then, with into the second half of the session already, only 4 3/4 minutes remaining. Aaron Walker, though, yet to set a lap time. We saw him run wide through the Villeneuve chicane. He's still down in 16th place, so expecting him to respond immediately. And Aaron, we're already seeing the drama and the jeopardy of this single session qualifying, aren't we? Drivers struggling to set lap times.
Yeah, just watching Walker, you can see him really pushing that KTM to the limits. I have to say, there is a certain dice roll element to Zolder, in fact, because the 2 chicanes, you know, even though the KTM has a really high ride height as standard, it's struggling to get over those baguettes where he really needs to make the time up, because the KTM, let's be honest, is a cornering car. It doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the top speed. It'll have the mid to low acceleration, but that's what it's got, mechanical grip. And he's struggling to make it count where he needs to make it count, which is in the chicanes here. So it'll be interesting to see if Aaron Walker can set a clean lap.
So on the run down to the final chicane at the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, let's see if Walker can improve. He's now been knocked down to 18th position, and with nearly 3.5 minutes on the clock remaining, he's definitely running out of opportunities to set a lap time. So let's see, as he comes to break the timing line, he stays to the left-hand side to shorten the run to the line, and he jumps to second place. So that's more like it from Aaron Walker in the number 99 KTM, a time of a 1:35.736, but it's still not enough to lock 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 from the top of the pile. And on screen at the moment, Cameron Fyfe challenging himself with a new car this season. We saw in the Aston Martin last season. Here he is in the Porsche Cayman. Hit, of course, with that 50 kilos of ballast, as is standard across all cars. Cameron now rounding the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the hairpin, and then the run through the little left-right kinks there. As you see one of the McLarens off in the background. Cameron with a slightly reduced grid, slightly reduced numbers on the grid this season. It'd be really important to see Cameron fighting for that reverse grid pole position. Let's see if we can get him inside the top 20 and top 15. As you can see on the map on your screen where all the drivers are out on track. Cam just crossing the line to jump up to 18th place, number 13 in the CFM Motorsport Cayman. And that's just a great example, isn't it, Aaron? There's not a lot of space to go around here at Zolder, and you're going to want that clean air to set your quali lap in the remaining few minutes.
Yeah, it was really surprising when we first jumped on board with quali, just looking at all the cars cramped up together, not giving themselves a lot of room. The seasoned Simsport Championship drivers, they should know by now that they need to kind of create their own space. It's not going to be handed to them on a silver plate. So for anybody watching and anybody that's new to this quality, you just have to give yourself that space, and maybe 3-4 seconds as well. Don't think you're staying in someone's draft is enough. It might not be enough. It depends on the levels of their speed around this track, the confidence of this track. You've really got to give yourself that space.
So you can see on the timing screen that we have on the screen now on the stream, you'll be able to view it. This is the timing screen that Aaron and myself are looking at. You can see below the columns, there's Sector 1, Sector 2 and Sector 3. You can see how the leading 2 cars generate their pace slightly differently. They're fairly well matched in the first sector, fairly well matched again in the second sector, but it's all in that Sector 3 where 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's able to generate a gap of nearly 0.2. So clearly that Audi is hooked up through the hairpin and through the run to the final chicane. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 crosses the line and goes up to 12th in the number 667 Camaro. And just as we say that it's about improving, Aaron Walker is going quicker on this lap. A minute remaining on the clock. He's going to have another opportunity, but he's looking like he's going to set his best lap time on this tour of the Zolder circuit. Into the hairpin, nice and clean. He gets the card settled and runs wide. Just clips the grass slightly. That's not going to be enough to cost him time. Luke Whitehead running around behind is a perfect benchmark, I suppose, yardstick against his lap time. Walker then through the final chicane, clips the curb on the left and on the right, and runs over to the left-hand side. He's got a sizable gap of nearly 4/10 up on his time, and as he crosses the line, he improves to go to pole position, a 1:35.322. The margin now to Whitehead, the best part of 0.3 of a second, with Whitehead behind with only one more lap to respond. Let's see if the number 2 Audi can go quicker as Walker hangs it out through turn 2. Bit of Tokyo drift through there, Aaron. And I was going to say, that's probably Walker's best lap time set now.
Yeah, that's how I have to say that. That's how Aaron Walker likes to drive that car. He likes that. He likes to power slide it through these, these mid-high speed downforce corners and just get that absolute run out there. What a fantastic lap time that was from him. We were expecting Luke Whitehead to improve, but he didn't do that there. David Ressel, though, in the Aston Martin, out of the commentary booth and into the cockpit, is finding himself in 7th place. That is a fantastic job.
I was going to say it's too easy. I think they need to make it a little bit harder for him. But anyway, here we go. So Walker still lapping round. It looks like this is not going to be a lap going quicker, but he's still kicking around. He's still hoping to find some time. Whitehead in pit lane. So Whitehead's not going to be able to respond to the pole position time. Hedge is 3rd at the moment. Then it's Will Dendy. The checkered flag is well and truly out and being waved at the flag stand. So any drivers now who complete their lap times will be unable to set another one. Final run to the flag then from 𝗦𝗫𝗏𝗏, and he runs out through the final corner, stays over to the left hand side, actually drifts across to the right. I thought he would want to minimise the run to the line. And does he improve? Yes, he knocks Dendy off the 2nd row, so he goes up to 4th place in the number 111 Simsport Racing Audi. So there's a KTM 1, Audi 2, KTM 3, Audi 4. So we've got 2 for 2 on the front 2 rows. And to run you through the rest of the order, so a pole sitter this evening, Aaron Walker in the number 99 Simsport Racing KTM, a time of 1:35.322. He's joined on the front row by debutant Whitehead in the number 2 Audi. Then it's Hedges and 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, 3rd and 4th, with Dendy and Vidago 5th and 6th on the 3rd row. Then rookie David Ressel, I'm going to enjoy saying that, 7th on the grid alongside Marcus Hagel, another rookie to the series. Gav Utley 9th with Richard Pixley, our Season 5 AM Class champion, in 10th place alongside Simon Wilkes in 11th, Regan Mitchell 12th. Then we have Rhys Wiggin and Mark Raddenbury making up the places 13th and 14th. That's a row completed with Camaros. Then Aidan Bro down in 15th in the Mercedes, a new car for him in this championship. Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's 16th with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 17th. Cam Fife 18th with Harry Mears alongside him in 19th. Then Richard Simmons and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, a new rookie to the championship, rounding out the back row, unable to set a time during that qualifying session. And as we roll down the middle of the grid with the Simsport Solutions Segway, Steve Proudly going absolutely Harry Flatters down the middle of the grid. Aaron, it's a packed grid, isn't it? Lots of cars out here tonight. Okay, it's not as big as we've seen before in this championship, but it's going to be some plenty of close racing at the front end and towards the middle and rear of the pack.
Yeah, I really like how the KTMs and the Audis have locked out the top 2 rows of the grid there. It kind of feels like a David and Goliath. The Audi being so big and the KTM being so compact, it's going to be really interesting. Great job from Adam there the last minute to get into the get that 4th place. He's found his feet in this car. He struggled in the BMW last season. As his teammate.
I was going to say, yeah, you were teammates, weren't you?
Yeah, he couldn't find his feet in that BMW, but it's absolute pure magic in that Audi, so I really can't wait to see what he can do in there. I'm also looking towards the rear of the grid here in 21st, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the sole BMW. Interesting to see what he can do in that car. Really interesting, because the BMW here is actually quite a good car to drive. So he's a I would say he's a seasoned rookie. He's new to Simsport, and I wish him all the best. I just can't wait to see what he can do in that BMW.
So here we have the row of Camaros, and in front of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 we had the flying banana, I'm going to nickname it, of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the 69 Maserati. Regan back in the Maserati Gran Turismo. Obviously, a GT4 car we know has no traction control and no ABS, so it's certainly a different kind of beast. Here on the right-hand side, you've got one of the Dunn Motorsport Camaros. That's 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 down in 17th. In the number 18 car with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 for company alongside, and it's a brace of McLarens and then the BMW of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 that Aaron mentioned rounding out the field. Now, Aaron, your first race watching on from the commentary box, and I want to get your opinion. Race 1, turn 1. How do you approach the start of this race?
You've really just got to close line the inside. You've got to hold that apex. Set yourself. So it's all about setting yourself up for really turn 2. So you want to get that nice tight line in, force them out wide, and then you're kind of looking for that cut back into turn 2 and track position into turn 3, and then you're getting ready for the straight, right? You know, these two KTMs on the top 2 rows, they've got to really battle to keep that advantage all the way down to the first chicane. If they can make that, I think they'll keep the lead.
So the drivers are going to contend over 45 minutes this evening. Sprint race, flag to flag. No need to visit pit lane, and if drivers do, normally something untoward has occurred. Aaron Walker is on pole. He's the most winningest driver in the championship. 5 wins to his name. So he's certainly proven himself and that he can get the job done in this championship. Double victor in the previous season at Monza and Hungaroring in the KTM. I was just going to say, as someone's put in the YouTube chat, Yannick Muller, Aaron Walker and the KTM are a match made in heaven. Would you say the same, Aaron? They just he seems to get along with that car, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like peanut butter, isn't it? It's peanut butter jelly sandwich. It just goes together. It's beautiful. I don't think he suits any other car. Like I think everyone has their preference, and I think the KTM is him. How is that controversial?
We're getting a controversial over the airwaves from our broadcast director.
I will not have that.
Aaron surely can drive other cars though, can't he? But this one just seems to fit his driving style. The only driver to win more than once in a season, I believe, as well. So, you know, he is someone to keep an eye on, and especially if you've got him at the front of the pack. But like we say, front of the pack means middle of the pack, if not further to the back this season, reverse grid. So looking towards the middle of the field, drivers will be battling hard for that 15th place. And that's a different kind of racing, isn't it, Aaron? You take away needing to just gain positions and get up the field, and sometimes drivers start thinking, all right, I might try and bag this 15th place. If I can kick on now, catch the driver in front, that's pole position next time out.
Yeah, there's really 3 different chapters to each race. You know, you got the top 5 looking for those podium positions and the ultimate race victory. I would say 5th to 10th place is kind of like no man's land, and if you find yourself in that kind of like in that 5 spaces, you kind of want to average that every single race, right? But then you've got that 10th to 15th, and I would say even beyond. I would say 10th to 20th, all battling for that pole position next race. So there'll be some people that might be letting off, some people really desperate to get through that pack to hit that 15th place. So I say there's just so many different layers to this GT4 Championship.
So we ride on board with our pole sitter and Season 1 champion, Aaron Walker. He's leading the cars around on the formation lap, and they'll come back round and take the grid. Track conditions at optimum. You can see in the top right-hand corner of your screen, ambient temperature at 20 degrees C and track 26. So a slightly warm track surface will certainly be something that's helping the drivers generate heat in the tyres and bring the pressures in nice and quickly. But saying that, Walker wasting no time in weaving side to side on the back stretch, the run down towards the Kleiner chicane, just to bring that KTM Crossbow GT4 up to temperature as much as possible.
Sorry there. I just thought he nearly lost that there.
Aggressive tyre warming. It's almost Fernando Alonso-esque, isn't it, from Aaron Walker? So as he's going up through and into turn 6 down towards the Villeneuve chicane, drivers, like we say, will be warming the car, working the tyres, trying to bring the car in. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, just noticed on the timing screen, well, it's showing in the pits, but actually now he's just jumped back in. I can't see him now on the screen. So he is P5. Hopefully he will stay P5. Don't want any drama happening before the green flag of race 1. Normally we like to leave it to do in between the green and the checkered. That's how we do things here at Simsport. So the grid forming up, and Aaron, you, in this final few moments, you're really just getting a judge of your competition around you, aren't you, and getting that game plan set and ready.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to be finding yourself on that outside line, going for over the start finish line, you've got to be focused solely on that track position. You're ultimately forced wide, but you've got to try and squeeze your way into that train, make yourself known, make your presence known, and yeah, that's what these two Audis are going to have to do around the outside, which is going to be very difficult because that Audi doesn't like high-speed corners.
So the grid's forming up, 2 rows of 12 cars. Sorry, that maths is horrendous, isn't it? 11 cars, 1 row consisting of 10 cars, actually. So anyway, we'll leave that to one side. Aaron Walker's going to lead them around the final corner. Luke Whitehead alongside, then ҺEDGES and 𝗪𝗞𝗘𝗧 in behind. 𝗦𝗫𝗓𝗏 and 𝗪𝗞𝗘𝗧 on row 3 as they're coming to take the green flag. Race 1, season 6 of Simsport Racing's GT4s. Who will be victor in round 1 as we get the green flag now. Walker dives across to the right-hand side immediately in an attempt to cover off the Audi of Whitehead, who's going to try and go around the outside. Meanwhile, 𝗦𝗫𝗓𝗏 has a sizable look at the inside of 𝗬𝗫𝗓𝗏 KTM, but Whitehead has held it round the outside of turn 1, which becomes the inside for turn 2. He has now wrestled the lead away from Aaron Walker in the KTM. So Whitehead leads Walker and 𝗬𝗫𝗓𝗏 through turn 2. Then it's 𝗦𝗫𝗓𝗏 and 𝗪𝗏𝗏 rounding out your top 5 as they go through the canal box for the first time and the run down towards the Kleiner chicane. David Ressel holding on to 7th place at the moment, but eager to make a move on the car in front, which is one of the Audis. As we can see, he's got a McLaren for company. Got a slight connection issue as well, which is causing a confusion for David, I'm sure, and the drivers around him. But up over the hill, Walker's got a great run through the Kleiner chicane, catching up to the back of Whitehead into Villeneuve, unable to make a move this time. He's just forced to have to sit in behind. Meanwhile, 𝗪𝗏𝗏 makes a lunge on 𝗦𝗫𝗓𝗏 and gets through. So the Camaro up a position now into P4 and is going to be looking to close the gap up to Dave 𝗬𝗫𝗓𝗏, but a fairly clean start there, Aaron. Exactly what we like to see at race 1.
That was a superb start. What a start to this championship. And I have to say there, Walker caught short, to be honest. He went wide, looked for that cutback. It wasn't there. The tyre grip wasn't there. It was too early, too soon, and Luke Whitehead is now storming away.
There's an Aston Martin there off the left-hand side, pinging up one of the ad marker boards, dropping down the order. We'll get confirmation of who that is. Aidan Bro's just gone through. In fact, Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 is the Aston Martin that's dropped well down the order. I'm sure we'll get confirmation when they cross the line and our timing screens update. Bro really yet to make an impact on this race. Walker falling off the back of Whitehead to some extent. The gap now 0.6 of a second. 𝗬𝗫𝗓𝗏 behind. They're forming one long line of GT4s, all fairly spaced out, equidistant between them, around 6 to 8 tenths between the cars. Here is Gav Utley in the all-black Aston Martin. That was the car that would run off the track and was dropping down the order. He started inside the top 10, now down to 14th, as Cameron Fyfe has got himself up to 16th, battling with 𝗤𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏. These two have gone hammer and tongs in the championship before. Fyfe running wide over the gravel. That's going to slow him down on the long run to the Kleiner chicane. 𝗔𝗓𝗏 is through easily, but Harry Mears is trying to make a move around the outside and does so, but he's late on the brakes. Nearly collects the back of 𝗔𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏's Camaro, avoiding action, but he's going to have to skip through the gravel and the grass and rejoin. Very close between the McLaren and the Camaro. That would have been dramatic indeed, and surely race defining for a number of drivers there. But Walker closing up onto the back of Whitehead. It's going to start evaluating where that Audi is quick, Aaron. We know that, like you say, it's got a little bit more punch in a straight line. So the KTM driver's really going to have to make something work if he's going to get past and take back that lead. Yeah,
we saw in the timing, you know, that the Audi was particularly strong in the last sector, and that the KTM really had a foothold over those chicanes in the middle sector and really gets if you can get a good run, it can dominate in the first sector also. But it's not just about lap times here. We've got to think about it. It's a 45-minute race. We've got no pits, right? So no tyre swapping. And I have to say that KTM has a beauty. It can manage its tyres so much better than the Audi will. The Audi will struggle by the end of this race. The KTM will be able to maintain its average lap times, and that's going to be really key for Aaron Walker.
we see this battle here for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. They're all queuing up. 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏 looking to the outside of 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the exit of turn 2 and 3. But 𝗏𝗔𝗡𝗘𝗧 on your screen at the moment. The number 11, Aston Martin for Wild Things and To The Stars Racing. Let's see how he gets on his first appearance for the team. He's got Simon Wilkes behind in the green Audi there, number 12. So we've got 11 and 12 running in 10 and 11. If they could just drop back one more position, that would be really great in terms of numbers. But 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 here in 12th place, looking to close up the gap. Aidan was so quick in the Ginetta last season, seemed to drag the performances out of that G55 GT4. Now opting for a new challenge in the Mercedes. So let's see how he fares. The only Mercedes on the grid in the championship. So he's the sole competitor in that car. Aaron Walker looking like the only driver really that's capable of challenging Whitehead, and this gap is ebbing and flowing. It's been 6/10 and up to 7-8 tenths at points. The car's developing their performance in different ways. Here's Adam Isalovic on your screen in the number 111 Simada Racing Audi, your teammate from last season, Adam. He's got David Ressel behind him for competition, and this looks like it's going to heat up into a nice battle between these two for 6th and 7th.
Yeah, Adam looking really, really confident in that Audi. Very, very striking livery as always. But he's got pressure. He's definitely got pressure from David Ressel here. But he's not. Both of them are not too far off Will Dendy. Any mistakes, any slight runs into the gravel trap, possibly off turn 3, will draw Dendy back into that battle for 4th place. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Sometimes, isn't it, Aaron? It's about working together with another driver. You have this kind of telepathic communication to just say, oh, let's just work together. How crucial can that be at a track like Zolder, where there's little overtaking opportunities and little margin for error?
In an ideal world, yes, working together seems like the best game plan, and I would certainly, encourage that, especially in endurance races. But no one cares here. Like no one's going to be working together. They just want to beat each other, and you could definitely see that with the aggression on the track. It is very clean aggression. I won't say it's not over aggressive. They're not bravado. They're very calm and collective with their decisions making. Apart from we just saw Simon Wilkes there giving him Pixley a cheeky flash going through the first chicane. So people starting to get frustrated with other people's paces, but they should have done better in quali.
Just like that, we're nearly 7 minutes into this race. Aaron Walker, though, on this particular lap 4, has really closed up onto the back of Whitehead's Audi. They're running nose to tail across the line. They've managed to drop Dave Hedges to the tune of 1.6 seconds. Then Voddago is a further 2 seconds back. So it looks like the podium positions at the moment are fairly safe. And I say that almost to deliberately jinx it and bring some racing action in. But Whitehead being hustled hard by Walker, 1-2 at the moment. The Audi is looking fast, and KTM is able to match it in certain parts of the track through the right hand at turn 3 there. It looked like Walker was very much nailed onto the apex, and Pixley and Wilkes are still going at it for positions 10 and 11. Riding aboard, split a cam with the KTM. Brilliant shot. You can see just how much Aaron Walker throws the car over the curbs. It's bouncing as he goes through the Kleiner chicane, but doesn't seem to lose too much time to the back of the Audi. He's getting a great view of that Audi. He's going to surely have learnt the livery inside and out with 10 minutes or nearly elapsed behind the number 2. Through the forest section of track, all about rhythm through there, finding your line and sticking to it and getting the power down nice and early. But it just looks like Whitehead's able to be quick enough in the sections to defend Aaron. It doesn't look like Walker's able to get that overlap on him at any point in the track.
Well, we just saw there that was a great view there, brought to you by Steve Proudley. That was fantastic. You could just see though that the Audi was super unsettled through the chicanes, and it looked like someone had just shot the KTM out of a cannon. It just is completely unfazed by the chicanes, but it's the hardest part of the track to make up time, because you still can get it wrong, where the Audi can just start to fly away here, like you can see on the straights, and get that all important track position into these corners. It's not phased by the KTM at the moment. The job on Aaron Walker's hands is huge, because he has to make it work for him in all the corners, which is the easiest place to make the most mistakes.
We did hear from Walker last season saying it's difficult to pass in this car, and that he's really got to dig deep to make the moves, which is why when he's been towards the front of the grid owing to a reverse grid or a pole position, he's really chosen to try and kick on and get away from the challengers behind, because he finds it difficult to fight back with this car. But at the moment, he's certainly reversing that, and he's fighting back on 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. A great run through the Kleiner chicane. He moves all the way over to the right-hand side, nearly 2 wheels on the grass through turn 6 and in towards Villeneuve. Walker is wasting no time in making his presence known as they skip across the curbs again. It's amazing the cars aren't more unsettled through there. Like Aaron says, though, this KTM is particularly strong through the left, right, left there at Villeneuve and the Kleiner chicane, but catching up again to Walker, Whitehead on the brakes. It looks like that number 99 car is great at dropping the anchor and closing the gap in the braking zones, and a couple of braking zones where you can make a move. It just looks like the Audi is able to scamper away on corner exit, stretch its legs down the straight and keep that gap to Walker. But here, through the Jackie X box and onto the start-finish straight, we're nearly at 10 minutes into this one. Walker close as he ever has been on the run down towards turn 1. You can see visually just how much the Audi drops the KTM in a straight line, and that start-finish straight is not a very long straight line section. Shows you the difference between these two cars, and obviously the Audi carrying ballast to the tune of 10 kilograms as well through turn 2 and turn 3. Walker closing right up through this opening sector. If he can get a clean run, I say clean run, four-wheel drifting there through turn 3. Brilliant car control. It's not going to aid his exit, and he's weaving behind this Audi. Aaron, the number 99 KTM, he wants through, and he wants through fast.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially drifting a matchbox. There's such a short wheelbase in the KTM. Great car control from both of them, though, especially when they needed it the most through this second chicane here. The reason, though, that Aaron Walker's weaving that much, it looks aggressive, it looks a little bit silly, but it's actually very logical, because as you've seen before in previous laps, his closing speed on the back of that Audi is tremendous. Right, he's closing on the back of that Audi so quick, so he's got to make sure that his braking's on point, that he can brake where he needs to without just, ramming that Audi up the back. He needs to make it clean, but and that's how he's doing it. He's basically judging where he needs to brake, and that Audi must seem so big. In that KTM, the back of the Audi must seem so big.
So let's see then. Walker winding up through the Jackie X box, the final chicane. Again, closes right up through the left-hander, almost disturbed by how much he closes up through that first part of the corner, loses time through the exit, and on the run down across the start-finish line, drops back a car length or 2 or even 3 on the run down to turn 1, but it's all closed up through the first apex. Looks to the outside into turn 2, as you can see from this brilliant rooftop camera, just how much they're switching from side to side, and Walker taking different lines in an effort to close that gap and get the move done for the race lead. They've dispatched Ħeďes quite significantly now, 3 seconds back to the number 88 KTM. So look, they've got this big gap behind now. They can go at it, but Walker needs to get the job done on the brakes. It's going to seem like that Audi is quick in a straight line, throwing over the curves. Whitehead slightly pushed offline through the second apex there. Walker unable to capitalise, so it's Whitehead leading Walker at the moment, closing right up onto the brakes into Villeneuve, then Ħeďes in third, 3 seconds further back, then it's Kieran Vidago in the number 4 Simsport Racing Camaro in 4th place, with the 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 rounding out your top 5, harried on though by David Ressel in the number 5 Aston Martin, 3/10 behind Will Dendy in 7th. So Dendy's, look, he's close, but he's dropped down the order from the start, and he's going to have to fight back. I wonder if there's been incident for the number 28 Zansho Simsport driver. Then Marcus Hagel in 8th, with Regan Mitchell 9th, and Rich Pixley rounding out the top 10, and cheered on by Denise Pope in the YouTube chat as Walker closes up significantly into the chicane there. But Aaron, it almost looked like he had to get out of the steering there and avoid the back of the Audi.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin to the KTM. Is it looks great when you're pushing it, and it looks fine when you're getting it right, but when you get it wrong, boy, does it go. It goes really wrong. It is a very, very twitchy car, and you can just see here that Aaron Walker's game plan, especially that lap before, was he tried to get the track position out of turn 1, try and make the cut back into turn 2 to get the track position into turn 3, have the inside line. It didn't work out. That Audi's got way too much pace for that kind of game plan, but it looks like he's really strong on the exit of the first chicane. That Audi looks really unsettled. That KTM looks absolutely planted. I think that's going to be the game plan for Aaron Walker.
𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on screen at the moment in 13th place. in the number 18 Dunn Motorsport Positive Perception Camaro. He's harried on by 𝗲𝗎𝗎 in the 169 BMW, who's come from the back of the grid to 14th. And as we jump forward a couple of positions, it's still Wilkes and Bro battling for 11th and 12th. Bro getting to terms with the Mercedes, looking to the inside, down towards the Kleiner chicane. Wilkes skipping across the curbs in the Audi. It's interesting to see how the Audi's doing at the front of the field and also further back, and how drivers are dealing with the car. New cars to some of these drivers as well in this season.
Oh!
Here is Walker though, very close. We see picture in picture. That looked like Aidan Bro going in deep, and Simon Wilkes cutting across the chicane as well. Meanwhile, Walker looking to the outside of Whitehead, who just drifts across back onto the racing line to close the door and stop there being a KTM-sized hole on the right-hand side of the track for Aaron Walker to slip into. And on the run down the start-finish straight, the number 99 is as close as he's ever been, looking to the inside again, trying to distract Whitehead, trying to just make him consider defending more than he needs to. And in fact, Whitehead's wide. Whitehead on the gravel. An easy move done for Walker. He inherits the lead, but not through an overtaking manoeuvre, through a mistake for Whitehead. And Aaron, it just looked like the pressure began to show. Turn one, bit too deep onto the gravel. Position gained for Aaron Walker.
That was a pressure bomb. The cookie certainly crumbled there. I mean, how much more pressure could Luke Whitehead have ever managed there? The question for me now, though, is just Aaron Walker, his first race of the season, is he just going to plough on now and get those lap times in, or is he going to try and help his teammate, who is Dave Hedges? Oh, he makes a mistake there through the first chicane, and that's going to allow the Audi to get right back on him. Going into the second chicane, that was a bit nervous to say. He just needs to collect himself. He's got that first position now. He needs to hold it. But he might change his game plan and allows Dave Hedges, his teammate, to get into this battle.
Are you suggesting some sort of British touring car style team play here? Yeah, there we go. Thought it might be. So let's see then. But I wonder if Whitehead's able to fight back, because he's been pushing so hard. Now he's got a car in front of him as we cut to a replay. This is Aidan Bro and Simon Wilkes going towards the second chicane at Villeneuve. Bro just late on the brakes, has to get out of it almost to try and avoid contact. Then Wilkes is so lucky to be able to skim behind the Mercedes. Fortunately, Bro pulling over to track left to let the Audi back through. So hard and fair racing, but mistakes beginning to show from the drivers. And Aaron, we're only 15 minutes into the season. That shows you how hard everyone is pushing as Walker dives from left to right to break the slipstream.
Well, he absolutely needs to break that slipstream. That Audi is really, really fast in straight line, and you don't want to be helping it. I have to say though, from Aidan Bro, you know, I think he's missing his creature comforts of the Ginetta. He belongs in a G55. What is he doing in the Mercedes? I mean, you know, congratulations, he's just become a dad. But go back to the Ginetta. He loved it in that thing. It looks like he's really struggling in that Mercedes.
Well, a new member of the Bro team, not only being his child, so congratulations to Aidan and his partner, but the Mercedes is also now part of the Bro family and not a compliant child, it seems, in comparison to the Ginetta. On the run down to the chicane here, 𝗟𝗏𝗏 harried on by Ressel still. Dendy's managed to gather himself together and join the train of cars, which goes from P5. As you see, Dendy's actually spun on the exit of the chicane, and he's stopped on the grass. He's going to have to get going. He might be leaving the circuit. In fact, I think he's dropped back to pit lane, so that's going to elevate a couple of, well, everyone actually a position. Ressel now 6th. And got a bit of a gap back to Marcus Hagel in the 117 and Regan Mitchell in the number 69 Maserati. So Ressel's eyes are going to be forward and looking to pass 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 as Hagel defends from that flying banana Maserati, the number 69 of Mitchell, who's closed up right on the exit of the hairpin there. On the run down towards the Jackie X box, they go side by side almost. Mitchell looking for the overlap. He's got it now on the brakes. No, chooses to duck in behind the number 117 McLaren 570S. And as they cross the line to start what is lap 12, separating out into these battles, it seems like two cars are going at it at certain points on the track. We've obviously got the lead battle with Walker and Whitehead, the gap now a second between them. Then Hedges third, Vidago fourth, a gap of 4 seconds between the third and fourth place drivers. Then it's another 4 seconds back to 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏, who's got Ressel for company. Then it's Hagel and Mitchell who are locked together. Then here on your screen at the moment, we've got Wilkes and Bro. They're locked together in battle. And further behind, you've got 𝗔𝗠𝗓𝗡𝗏 and 𝗲𝗏𝗏 together. So plenty of dance partners, it seems, being sorted out on the circuit this evening. Pixley just ahead in the silver and black Aston Martin. In a bit of no man's land at the moment, but he can't afford to make a mistake and allow 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to close back in as they skip through the chicane. The Audi seems particularly vicious over the curbs, Aaron. It seems to be skipping around a lot more than the other cars. Is that a characteristic of this car? Does it not enjoy the curbs as much as some of the other GT4s?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's something to do with it being like I think it's mid-engined, I'm right in saying. So, you know, as a mid-engine car, it's very skittish when it's not planted on all four wheels. And especially in that first chicane where you've really got to do most of the legwork, like 90% of the legwork in the first part, and then almost let go of the wheel in the second part. You want to be driving straight. Your wheels have definitely got to be parallel, and you just got to drive over the curb. If you're not doing that, you're just going to cause all sorts of problems for yourself. Has to be said though, Wilkes, who was charging hard on the back of Pixley, even giving Pixley a couple of cheeky flashes, is now being reeled in by Bro, who we just saw in the sand trap making sandcastles. So now Bro's got this mega pace, even though he's making mistakes. If he just not made the mistakes, I think he's got Wilkes.
So let's see how this battle unfolds over the remaining 25 minutes of this. It's round 1 of season 6 of the GT4s. Wilkes goes wide. Bro nearly follows him through turn 1 there, but manages to keep 4 wheels off the sand trap as they run through turn 2 and out through 3. Bro's best opportunity now to make a move as Wilkes attempts to dust himself off and push on, nearly going defensive into turn 4, almost moving over to the right hand side and cutting off the nose of that Mercedes of Bro. 2 wheels into the sand again on the exit of the canal box as they run down the straight towards the Kleiner chicane. Bro on the outside, Wilkes on the inside. They're going to turn left at some point. It's difficult to get through here 2 by 2, and Bro has to cut across the chicane. The door slammed in his face by Simon Wilkes, who once again holds on to that P10. The Mercedes looks like he needs to get through, though. Potentially has pace on the Audi. As we see, actually, Bro getting a drive through just as we cut to a replay here. This is 5 further down the order, and he looks like he's closing up on one of the McLarens in front of him. That's 𝗏𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗏𝗏, I believe, in the number 82 570S. A good run through to the straight on the run down towards the Kleiner chicane. Closes up significantly on the brakes, and Simmons is deep and off his line, and a little bit of contact there as it looks like Cam just had to adjust his line to get past the slow McLaren. It looks like, yep, confirmed there on screen. Aaron, drive-through penalty for Aidan Bro, and he's in pit lane. That's going to be race deciding for the number 93 Mercedes.
Yeah, and he's going to be really frustrated with that as well, because it was almost like a forced error. He's taking the racing line into that first chicane. Wilkes is up his inside. He tried to maintain it. He tried to go too wide, and it never ends well when that happens. But it's too late before you think about that. You just want to get to that. You want to get to the corner first, so that's all you're thinking about. And I feel like that would have contributed to one of his track limits. And then he cut the second chicane, and it just snowballed from there. So I feel really bad for him. He's still just come out of the pit though in 13th place, so he's not lost a great deal of positions as we noticed. The pack is pretty spread out. Battles throughout, but the pack is pretty spread out. So he's only lost a minimal amount of places, especially for a drive-through.
Let's see, though, as he crossed the timing line, I'm sure the timing tower reset, and indeed, there it goes, just as I say that. It's as if they knew I was going to say that, and Bro tumbles down a few more places, but still, he's not at the back of the grid, so let's see if he can fight his way through the order. He had good place. Meanwhile, 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 defending hard from Wrestle round the hairpin, forcing the number 5 Aston Martin to pick off the gas and just fall back into line behind the purple and pink spotted Audi as they round the Jackie Xbox and onto the start finish straight. That's 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's just about to disappear out of shot in the number 4 Camaro. He's in no man's land at the moment, 10 seconds back. In fact, looking at the screen, I've just seen that Dave Hedges seems to have dropped down the order from 3rd place back to 8th. So let's see if we can get a replay of that, because Hedges has fallen off the podium, and that's elevated 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 now to 3rd place. 𝗖𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 up to 4th, Wrestle to 5th, Hagel and Mitchell benefiting as well, now up to 6th and 7th. Hedges down in 8th, and with good pace we should be able to see if that KTM can fight back through the order. I wonder whether David just got lulled into a false sense of security, Aaron, because when you're not battling and catching cars in front and you're not being caught from behind, it's quite easy to lose concentration.
Yeah, maybe a simple case of complacency. You've got no one around you, no one's pressuring you. You're just kind of driving your own race. You're kind of in like your own little dream world, and you know, if you nod off, so to speak,
yeah,
especially at Zolder, it can catch you for a good one. I definitely think that's what's happened to Dave Hedges. He's 2.5 seconds off 𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗧, but it's 𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗧 in a Maserati. So, you know, good luck to you, fella, because that's going to be one hell of a battle.
So here we go. Here is the replay. Let's see on the run down towards the final chicane at the 𝗏𝗡𝗧 box. I've got a feeling he might just brake too late and run the car in. Yes, he does. Look at that. And then he spins off to the left-hand side, track left. He duly waits to make sure he doesn't cut across 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, but then it's just almost a case of Kimi Räikkönen at Interlagos a few years ago, just unable to refine the track surface, spinning round, avoiding the walls, gets back on track. Plenty of time lost though. Dave Hedges is going to have to dust himself off and fight on. We've seen how quick that KTM can be. P3 on the grid, was running third in the race quite convincingly. And already, Aaron, he's taken a 1.5 seconds out of Mitchell. So it looks like the number 88 KTM is certainly not finished yet.
Yeah, in that replay as well, it looked like he tried to just steer right and then snap left and just get the car to rotate and like spin those rear tyres. But he did it on the tarmac. So he just found grip instead of over-rotating, and it just it looked like it sent him into the wall there. So he did a great job to avoid the wall, but you know, he lost so much more time than he needed to there. And it also brings into question that he is catching Mitchell's catching Ҳēgl, and I kind of feel like there's going to be a monstrous battle between Adam Misalovic in 4th and Dave Hedges all the way down in 8th. I kind of feel like they're going to bunch right up.
How difficult is it, Aaron, to kind of dust yourself off and get back going again? Because, like we're saying, we're into the final 20 minutes of this race. It's sometimes more of a mental game than it is just being quick out there.
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask for that. I have a really, really short fuse. So if something goes wrong, I explode every time. But no, it's down to your personality and your characteristics. You know, some people are really patient. They can just kind of get straight back into that mind zone. Then they need to be that mindset. Just focus on what they've got to do and accept what's happened. Other people get really hung up on, you know, events that have occurred, whether it's their fault or someone else's, and it can really mess with your mind. So just kind of depends on the kind of person you are. It never does well for me to have an incident. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, we'll get you a space on the Steve Proudley Sim Racing School powered by Simsport Solutions, and you'll learn all about being a hot potato and other popular terms. Anger management apparently is
short man syndrome is what they call it, I think.
Yeah. On the run through the hairpin then, Aidan Bro is certainly looking, well, it frustrated almost again. This Mercedes now stuck behind Cameron Fyfe, who's doing an excellent job of defending P17 in the red and black Cayman. He's looking in control and able just to make the pace to stop Bro from sending one up the inside. And as they cross the line on the run down towards turn 1, again, Bro not quite close enough to challenge, and Fyfe looking in control, actually saying that he's run deep, run wide, and succumbed to the pressure. Commentator's curse. I do apologise, Cam and Andrew, who have been watching on as well in the YouTube chat, but he's down into 18th now. Let's see if he can dust himself off and push on. See if he can reel back in number 93 Mercedes. And here is that battle that Aaron was saying would close up indeed. Hedges all over the back of Mitchell, who in turn has closed right up to the back of Ҳēgl in the number 117 McLaren. This is 5th, 6th and 7th on the road, but separated by only a second or so as they go into the 𝗏𝗡𝗧𝗏 box and through the right-hander onto the start-finish straight. Just looks like Hedges has more pace in the KTM, but he's got to deliver it in the right places. You've got to get that speed out of the car in the correct parts of the track and make the move on 𝗤𝗏𝗘𝗧 as soon as possible, because time is ticking. 17 minutes to go in this opening round of the season, and Hedges, who looked set for a podium, is now scrapping for 7th place as he goes wide there through turn 2 and lost more time. So Hedges needs to just get on with it, get focused and get past Mitchell. But again, Aaron, you know, he's been in clear air. He's been lapping on his own to some extent for the opening half of this race. Now he's got cars to deal with. Different challenge altogether.
Yeah, you know, for the most part of this race so far, he's been in a chilled out environment. Then something goes wrong, and now he's in a high pressure cooker. So really, for him, it's about adjustment. I have to also, you know, bring to your attention as well that the track temperature, I think, has gone up. It's increased. So those drivers that really kind of thought that they might have nailed their tire pressures there to optimum pressures, and with it increasing, you might be finding that these tires are starting to get, you know, a little bit overinflated. They're starting to lose grip a little bit, and that's an absolute killer for cars like the KTM. So that might be what's happening there to Dave Hedges.
And we hear as well, Aaron, about how the curbs can affect the tyres here on ACC and how they can be very influential on damaging pressures and, of course, getting punctures. You know, very important part of the tyre model is those punctures that can cost you. We were hearing from drivers last season, nearly a second, 2 seconds a lap if you get a slow puncture, etc. How does Zolder rank in a track that, you know, in terms of aggression on the tyres? Is it going to be bringing out those punctures? Is it going to be bringing out those you know, tyre issues with the nature of the curbs here, etc.?
It ranks pretty high, I have to say, Tim. Not because of, as you can see on screen there, not these like nice flowing curbs, but because of the chicanes. You really got to use them as almost like a ramp. You know, you're bouncing a lot. The car's bouncing a lot. He's smacking a tarmac quite a bit, and you can tailor that in the car setup. You can increase or, you know, adjust your tire pressure so that, you know, you can hit those curbs, and yes, it will decrease a little bit, but then as the lap goes on, it will then increase back to optimum, and you've got to be able to manage that fluctuation. Some tracks are worse. I would say this is kind of middle, but it can affect those tire pressures for sure.
So we head into the final 15 minutes of the opening race of Season 6 of Simsport Racing's GT4 Championship. Aaron Walker leads the way, a healthy margin now, 6.5 seconds over Luke Whitehead, and then they're joined on the podium at the moment by 𝗬𝗓𝗏 in the number 4 Simsport Racing. 𝗬𝗓𝗏, he's up from 6th place on the grid. Then 𝗬𝗏𝗏 in 4th, but hurried on, like we've said, for the entirety of the race so far by David Ressel in the number 5, Ressel Racing Aston Martin. They're on screen at the moment. The purple Audi for 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and the Dayglow yellow and white Aston Martin Vantage is Ressel. Then at the back of shot, this trio battling for 6th, 7th and 8th. That's Marcus Hagel leading Regan Mitchell, who's climbed up the order from 12th. And there's Dave Hedges behind, who started on the front of the second row. 3rd place, was lapping comfortably in a podium position with little challenge from behind until he made a mistake at the final chicane and has dropped back down the order. He's recovered to 8th place now and has a 9-second advantage over Rich Pixley in the number 11 Wild Things Aston Martin. Then Simon Wilkes in the number 12 Audi rounds out your top 10. Then it's 𝗔𝗟𝗍𝗓 from the back of the grid up to 12th. Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗓𝗏, Gav Utley and Mark Brandenbury. Currently, our Season 4 AM Class champion, no AM category this season, but the AM Class champion from Season 4 is placed to take reverse grid pole at the next round at Bathurst. And a mistake there from Regan Mitchell nearly allowed Dave Hedges through, but unable to get the pass done on the run through to the Villeneuve chicane. Time ticking for the number 88 KTM. He needs to get through on the Maserati. Hagel starting to stretch his legs slightly in front, and Hedges will know that, won't he, Aaron? He'll be aware that the race is slightly unravelled for him and that gaps are still changing and opening and closing. He needs to get past on Regan now if he stands a chance of challenging that top 5.
Yeah, you've got 3 cars that could not be more different. Battling here, Hagel in the McLaren, Mitchell in the Maserati, Hedges in the KTM, and I have to say for this is funny, man. So basically, this is how I drive my cars on a bonnet cam. Just a little bit there. I know it looks weird. It's very arcadey, but anyway, back to what I was saying. Thank you very much for the interruption.
No judgment here, Aaron. No judgment here. Safe space.
Yeah, no judgment there. I like Mr. Bean Cam or whatever. But anyway, so basically, I kind of feel like because that Maserati has no ABS, it has no traction control. It's very bare. You know, it's got nothing but raw power to that Maserati, and Mitchell's doing a fantastic job of keeping it under control in such high pressure situations such as this. I kind of feel that Dave Hedges has got to know this. He's got traction control to his advantage. He's got braking to his advantage, especially in that KTM. Turn 8, the 90-degree right-hander before the last chicane has got to be the spot for overtaking. He's got to get the position. He's got to get the run out the chicanes. Don't get too close to him now. Get that big run and go for the big lunge up the inside. I kind of feel like that's where the KTM will succeed in this position.
Of course, he's got that advantage, like you say, no assists on the Maserati, and the braking zone is somewhere where Mitchell will have to be conscious of what his left foot is doing. But actually, it looks like Mitchell has somewhat gapped Hedges behind, who goes in very deep into the hairpin there, almost sliding it, four-wheel drifting round turn 11. Mitchell closing up to the back of 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So this Maserati is kind of bouncing forward and backwards at the moment. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 gapping them slightly through this final sector. There's plenty of straight line speed. We know that McLaren is pretty healthy in a straight line as well, not carrying too much ballast in comparison to the competition. The 570S only 10 kilos on board, but behind the Maserati and the KTM both without any success ballast. So different cars, different characteristics playing out on our screen at the moment as we see 𝗪𝗞𝗘𝗏 actually has dropped back to pit lane and potentially out of the race. So that's a shame for Harry on his debut appearance in the series. He was towards the rear of the grid. It looks like that's going to be a DNF on his scorecard for round 1. Hopefully we'll see him back fighting in Bathurst. And this trio here of Hagan, Mitchell and Hedges, they've got a sizable gap back to Rich Pixley, but should any drama befall them in the final 10 minutes of this race, Pixley will be looking to make up a position at the death. Here's Gav Utley in the number 14 Aston Martin, chased by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the 169 BMW. And that BMW, Aaron, has it made the impact you thought it might do? I know you said pre-race that you were interested to see how this car climbed the order up to 14, looking fairly competitive in amongst some experienced names in the Simsport Racing paddock.
Yeah, you're always interested, right, aren't you? When you see a new name come into the championship, you want to gauge their performance and how well they do. You know, and starting at the back, I kind of feel like it is a cloud of smoke, especially for new drivers. You know, you don't really know their pace, and so this is actually really good performance. I think he has ultimately dropped a few positions. He was charging hard on the back of 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the number 18 Chevy Camaro there, so he's dropped back to a couple of places, but 14th place is still net gains. So this is a really good performance here from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Excited to see how he performs over the rest of the season, as Aaron Walker in your picture skipping across the Kleiner chicane. As the timing board says, he's now got a near 10-second advantage over Luke Whitehead, and you can see the gap now on screen as Walker's disappearing through the woods, through the Villeneuve chicane. I wonder actually whether Whitehead can even see the back of that Simsport Racing KTM now, as the number Season 1 champion just drops the rest of the field convincingly. Match made in heaven. It certainly seems so tonight with that KTM. I wonder, Aaron, it could have been a completely different race, couldn't it, if Whitehead hadn't made that mistake, because Walker was struggling to get the move done.
I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? You know, it could have always been different, but the fact remains that, you know, I think what Aaron Walker says about the KTM is very true in its core, is the fact that yes, it's an absolute pain in the butt to be trying to overtake, as we can see Dave Edges trying to do this lap after lap.
𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 spun round to the inside there. I think he just dropped it on the exit, and Mitchell caught up in that as well. That's going to give the number 69 and the number 88 a free position, as Hedges now looks to the inside of the Maserati into the Jackie X box. This was where Hedges made the mistake early on, and nearly does so again as the Flying Banana slides out to block the road and almost close the door on Hedges there as they run down towards turn 1. Can he go around the outside? Hedges looks to the outside into turn 1. He's still got the overlap side by side. Mitchell able to defend, able to close the door. Very fair racing between the two of them. I wonder what happened to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there. That was a bit of a shame. He was at the front of this pack, and no move seemed to be coming from Mitchell or Hedges, so he looked in strong contention for a top 6 finish in his first appearance in the series. But now Hedges, he's going to be learning the livery of that number 69 Maserati inside and out. He's been stuck behind it for 20 minutes or so now. Let's see if you can get the run through the Kleiner chicane, up over the hill. You've got a good run through there, down then through turn 6 and into Villeneuve. He looks to the inside, tries to send it in deep. Unable to do so that time, thinks better of it as they run through the right-hander and into the forest section. Flat out right-hander here and up over the crest and into the Boulderberg box. Great name for a corner. They've got great corner names here at Zolder.
I'm avoiding them.
Yes, as we see Ħeģis running in deep again. So he's really keen to get past. It's almost like he's getting caught out, Aaron, by just the braking ability of this KTM. He seems to have to dive out of the way in the final 50 metres or so.
Yeah, any compromise that 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗘 has to make in that Maserati is playing with the car as well. As we go on board with the replay, here we go, turn 8. Just gets a spin on there. I think that it was no one initiated. I think Hagel just got loose in the McLaren there. Mitchell gave him a tap on the rear end, which definitely did not help him because he has the pressure of the KTM just behind him. So these two guys soldier on, but really, really unfortunate for Hagel. I kind of feel like he stepped out of turn there by himself, and I kind of feel that's unfortunate there, Tim.
In the final 6-7 minutes of the race, that's a tough pill to swallow for any driver, let alone when you're making your debut appearance in the series. But Hagel showing good pace. He hasn't dropped too far down though. He's still in P8, so it's going to be a strong points finish for the number 117 McLaren. And here we see Ħeģis throwing the 88 KTM over the curbs in an attempt to extract any sort of pace from the car that might help him in passing the number 69 Maserati of Mitchell. 5 minutes to go, so the clock is certainly ticking down. The sand timer is running out for Dave Ħeģis, who's going to want to make the move now. Otherwise, he could see himself finishing in a 7th place, and that is going to be a painful result for Ħeģis, who looked set for the podium early on, rounding the hairpin, and again trying to get that overlap on the exit and the run up towards the Jackie X box. Into the left, right, Ħeģis closing up again on the brakes. The gap of 2 cars lengths almost closed to nothing in the braking zone. He's got a great exit again. But look, we're just going to see that Maserati is just about quick enough in a straight line. Ħeģis in the slipstream. You can't see him behind the Maserati as he dips out to the outside. Again, trying to go around the outside at turn 1. But Mitchell does the same thing, just runs the car through and closes the door, taking his racing line. Dave Ħeģis is doing everything he can to get past the Maserati, but still unable to get through. That yellow Maserati being driven very well by Mitchell, who will be, I believe, very happy with this performance back in the Maserati. Seems to get on with that car very well indeed, behind Hagel in 8th. Looks set for that position as Rich Pixley in 9th as well, Simon Wilkes in 10th. So currently your reverse grid pole sitter is 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the BMW, so that will give a perfect opportunity to see just how quick that BMW is, Aaron. And he's gone from the back of the grid to the front of the grid for the next race. But that's the beauty of the reverse grid, isn't it? We sometimes see these results thrown up and we see some interesting racing.
No, absolutely. I've just got to applaud Mitchell's measured control in this Maserati. You know, he's on the racing line. When he's on the racing line, it's fine. Everything is dandy. You know, but when he's not and he's being pressured and he's being forced to make compromises and go defensive, that car just looks like it struggles so much. He can't maintain the speed, and he's almost like over-rotating the car, inducing that over-rotation just so the car can then hook up and then he can plant the throttle down. So it's just a great bit of driving here from 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I feel like whatever happens between these two, Dave Ħeģis might be frustrated, but they'll have a bit of banter afterwards because this has been an absolute cracking showdown between the pair.
Ħeģis made a sizable look to the inside into turn 1. Mitchell running wide on the exit, and that's easy pickings for Ħeģis, who gets through back up to 6th place with 2.25 minutes to go. So try as he might to keep that KTM behind, a mistake for Mitchell has seen him lose the position with surely only 2, maximum 3 laps to go. Ħeģis recovering then to 6th place, a long way from the podium that he looked to have wrapped up in the opening half of this race. Here is Nathaniel 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in that 169 BMW. Currently will be starting on pole position, but this is what we've said earlier on in the show. Rhys Wiggin needs to get that position, because either he'll start 16th or he'll start pole position at Bathurst if he can knock 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗧 from 15th place. So the battle for the golden ticket, as I like to call it, is playing out on our screens at the moment with just under 90 seconds remaining. Wiggin getting a good run out of the Lucien Bianchi box and down the back stretch towards the Kleiner chicane, tucked right up behind the BMW, which skips across the curbs rather nicely.
Oh no!
So no, drive-through penalty. Drive-through penalty for 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗧 in the final minute of the race. He's going to lose that reverse grid pole position. Heartbreaking for him on his debut. And it looks like he knows it already as he skips through the 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 chicane.
Rhys Wiggin is just rubbing his hands like, thank you very much. Like that's just perfect for him. Absolutely perfect. That gives him that pole position in the next race. He's in the Chevy Camaro. They'll be going to Bathurst, where I kind of feel like that Chevy Camaro is going to be a strong contender. So it will be a really good chance to score some good points there for Rhys Wiggin.
Walker on the screen at the moment, race leader, a sizable gap back to second, the tune of 13.7 seconds. On the previous lap, he set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:36.3. So clearly no hanging around for our season 1 champion in the number 99 KTM. In fact, he's weaving on the way in towards the 𝗪𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏 box, because with the timer counting down, it looks like he'll be taking the checkered flag this time, flashing the lights and probably lifting off the throttle indeed as he weaves to take the checkered flag. Aaron Walker wins round 1 of season 6 of the Simsport Racing GT4 champion, behind what could have been a race win for Luke Whitehead in the number 2 H3 Racing Audi. He crosses the line to take second place in his debut in the championship, 14.5 seconds behind the number 99 KTM. Then 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 will take the final step on the podium in the number 4 Simsport Racing Camaro. He's pleased with that one, fighting through from 6th on the grid ahead of Adam Isalovic and David Ressel. So the Audi managed to keep the debutant at bay. Dave Hedges fights back to 6th place. Regan Mitchell in 7th. This top 7 all fairly close together. Then a gap back to Hagel, who's harried on by Pixley, who probably smelt blood in the final 10 minutes of the race. And Simon Wilkes set to cross the line for P10 after starting the race in 11th. So he seemed to be in battles continually, did Simon, but no real place gain. 𝗤𝗏𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 going to cross the line 11th after starting 17th. He'll be pleased with that. Mark Neuseling's 12th, Gav Utley 13th, and then Mark Randenbury, our season 4 AM class champion, crosses the line in 14th. Rhys Wiggin takes 15th on that final lap, so I wonder if 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just lifted out of the throttle to let the number 667 Camaro go. And 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 crosses the line in 16th after coming so close to taking that reverse grid pole position. But Aaron, an exciting first round of the season. It had everything, didn't it? We had the battles at the front, battles towards the middle, the battle for that reverse grid pole position. But the story of the race has got to be Aaron Walker and the KTM are going to be the ones to beat this season.
Yeah, it was a very strong showing there. You know, Luke Whitehead trying to create that foothold immediately off the start. It looked like he had it gold. It was very sorted for him. But then you just saw Aaron, start to the tire grip comes in on that KTM, and he's just started to pour and pile the pressure onto the back of Luke Whitehead. And then he makes that mistake, and that's it. All it takes is one mistake, blink of an eye, and then we didn't see Aaron Walker for the rest of the race. It was a great victory for him.
Just see on the replay there, actually drama at the start. One of the Dunn Motorsport Camaros facing the wrong way off the line. So that's surely why 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Mark Randenbury maybe didn't have the impact on the race they were hoping to have. We're just waiting now for the drivers to drop in to the commentary booth, and we'll have a word with them post-race. But I don't want to say this too early, Aaron, but surely Aaron Walker is going to be the driver to beat. The KTM with zero ballast. I suppose the only thing that might stop him are these reverse grids that we have here in the GT4 Championship. Next round at Bathurst, he'll be starting 15th on the grid. We're going to have to see him fight through the order.
Well, yeah, and Bathurst is not really, it doesn't induce overtaking, does it? It's more about consistency. And as we've spoken about the KTM before, it's great when it's out in ahead because it can put the lap times in, but it's no good at passing traffic. As we saw the struggle that 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗔𝗥 had to try and get past 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗏𝗏 in the Maserati. Like, that's what we're going to see at Bathurst. So I kind of feel like he's in 15th, and we might not see him on the podium in the second round. We'll have to wait and see.
The commentary booth with the drivers, the interview room, and I'm going to speak to our race winner, Aaron Walker for Simsport Racing. Aaron, you and that KTM are a match made in heaven, aren't you? Because another victory at the wheel of the car and a great place to start your season, P1.
Hey Tim, yeah, thank you. I do love the car. I suppose, first of all, congrats to Kieran and Luke. I'm just counting my lucky stars that Luke made a mistake because it wasn't going to be easy getting past. I think once I pulled a small gap, I think maybe he just settled into a groove and he wasn't trying to catch me. I mean, at this track, disaster's only a chicane away, so you just got to be very careful. I think I only got one track cut, so I had a couple in the bag. But yeah, no, well done to those guys. It was a great race, but just wish I'd have had more of a battle.
Sure, Zolder, we're going to get that slogan printed on their entry gates then to the circuit. But we go from Zolder to Bathurst, a circuit completely different in its characteristics, but you'll be fighting from 15th on the grid as a result of the reverse grid system. How do you think the race will fare? Because you won't be able to start at front and run away like we're so used to seeing you do in the GT4s.
I mean, if you've driven the KTM or if you know the KTM, it does struggle to pass. But I was reminded yesterday by our broadcaster, Steve, that a young Charlie Crossland did quite well at Bathurst. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Tim, it's not too bad there. And I can make up a couple of positions, but I'm not expecting too much, if I'm honest.
Well, congratulations on your result this evening, Aaron. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Bathurst.
Thank you.
We'll go to our second place finisher, Luke Whitehead. Your debut in the championship. Luke, you come from victory in Simsport's GT3 Championship. A different story this evening, though. Close to getting that top step, but you're going to have to leave this evening with P2. How was your race?
Well, to be honest, it was a lot better than I expected. I know that this track is very tight and twisty, and I know that the KTM is a bit like an ant, I described it before the race, because it's so nimble. Not necessarily as quick down the straights, but through the chicanes, it's unbeatable, really, in GT4s. And I knew that the Audi is rather the opposite. It's not quite as nimble, but it's got some straight line speed. And, I played my cards well at the start. I played that to my advantage until, the brakes are a particular weakness on the Audi, and I found out the hard way going to turn 1. So, I've never driven this car around Zolder. I've never driven GT4s around Zolder full stop, and I've only ever done one race in GT4s. So I've really not got that much experience in these anyway, so I'm happy to even have been in the fight. I know these guys have done a couple of seasons. Obviously I watched last season with interest, obviously looking to enter this one, and yeah, I'm happy to have even been up there. I had a pressure loss on the left rear, and I had 3 warnings right at the start with track limits, because obviously the Audi just bounces like a kangaroo through the chicanes. So I had to play it quite careful after I got overtaken, and that's why I dropped back. But I don't think the result would have been any different if the circumstances had changed. Aaron was just extremely quick. Well done to him. He drove a great race. I'm looking forward to Bathurst, though. Reverse grids. I do love a reverse grid. I always did in karting, and I do now. And I know the Audi has some insane straight line speed. The brakes aren't great, so I may need to be careful of that. But as far as overtaking, hopefully it should be pretty academic. But you don't know. I don't know until I get there.
What's your approach then to the next race? Because, like you say, steep learning curve. This is your second race in GT4s. How do you approach starting from 14th on the grid, and fighting back through some very quick competition?
Well, obviously, as you say, there's some very, very quick guys involved in the championship. So, clearing those guys is crucial. And obviously, they're going to be buffered by, the guys that are, further down the grid. So they're all going to be buffered up, and hopefully at the start is where you're going to see the most overtakes, I think, because obviously, you know, the slightly less quick guys at the front are going to buffer up the quicker guys at the back, and obviously the car. You know, the cars that are quick change massively and very massively compared to GT3 from track to track. You know, the KTM could go from being the quickest car here, you know, it was the quickest, and then it could really struggle at Bathurst, obviously, because of that long back straight and the long uphill from Hell Corner. So, you know, you never know how it's going to play out. But yeah, the reverse grids is definitely going to spice things up going into the next few races. So, yeah, I think the strategy for me is just going to be trying to keep out of trouble, let the people that want to be eager crash, and then swipe through and take some positions. That's usually my approach, and hopefully it should work again as it usually does.
I look forward to seeing you attempt that, Luke, and congratulations on your result this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll go over to our third place finisher, 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏. Kieran, a return to the podium from P6 to P3. You must be happy with the race this evening.
Yeah, hello Tim. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Yeah, a couple of good moves at the start on lap 1, and then Mr. Hedges had a little spin into the last chicane. I saw a yellow flag and approached with caution, and I saw a KTM backwards, and I thought, I'm quids in here. Happy days. Just need to hold the gap to the guys behind, and just about managed that.
A new car for you this season as well in the Camaro. How are you finding it? How are you finding the beast that is the Chevy? And you know, with your experience in this GT4 Championship, it must be strange to be in that car as opposed to getting beaten up by one at some point.
Yeah, it's a weird car. This it's completely against my driving style. It's got masses of understeer. It hardly wants to turn into the corner. It loves to over-rotate out of the corner, and that's pretty fun actually. Yeah, I enjoy that. But no, it's pretty good. I enjoy the straight line speed of it. Definitely going to be helpful in these reverse grids. A bit of straight line speed. But yeah, the KTM's definitely gonna struggle with the reverse grids. Trying to get through. They've just got no straight line speed, so straight line speed's king, I think, here. So at most tracks. So yeah, it'd be good.
Exciting stuff. Well, congratulations on your result this evening. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Bathurst.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
We'll go over to one of our debutants in the series, a certain David Wrestle from commentary box to cockpit. David, baptism of fire. A strong result for you though this evening. How was it out there?
Oh, I'm knackered, Tim. Honestly, it's just as difficult driving as it is getting in the comms box. So credit to all these lot for doing it every season. That was really good fun, that one. Qualified a lot higher than I expected I would, and then similar to obviously what Kieran just mentioned there, a couple of people dropped it throughout the race, been nicked up a couple of positions, but I'm certainly looking forward to not having to look at the back of 𝗦𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 car for a week at least.
I'm sure you've memorised that livery inside and out, but how are you finding the Aston Martin? Obviously with success in the Cayman in the 8 Hours of Cheshire with AOR, and now you're in the Vantage here in Simsport's GT4 Championship. Do you enjoy the switch to this GT4? Do you think it suits your driving style?
Yeah, it needs a bit of throwing around, and it's quite nice in that respect. It's a bit more stable than the Cayman as well, especially coming from the setup we had at Alton Park on the weekend. So it's a bit more stable going into the corners, coming out of it, that sort of thing, which I need to stop. Don't like a soft or a wiggly rear end. So yeah, it's quite nice. But it was. The problem we had was just as soon as I got anywhere near Adam, I either got a dodgy exit or just didn't have the straight line speed to make the move. So I'll be fair play to him. Every time I did try and make a move, he defended it perfectly. So it was never meant to be.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Luke. Obviously, reverse grid, you're going to be shuffled down the order. You've seen it plenty of times from up in the commentary box, how the drama can unfold. How are you going to be approaching your reverse grid position at Bathurst?
Yeah, so what's it here? The 10th on the grid, so it'll be an interesting one for sure. Of course, obviously Bathurst, it's an interesting one. Obviously, as soon as you get into the mountain, it's nigh and impossible to get past people. So I think similar tactic to what Luke was talking about. See what happens in front, and try and nick a couple of positions, and then hope the Aston's got a bit of poke down the back straight and hold off anyone who comes near me. Seems to do the job today. So hopefully we can get a setup that'll do the same next week.
Well, congratulations on your result this evening, David. Look forward to seeing how you fare in the rest of the championship.
Cheers, Tim. Thanks, mate.
And we'll go back up to the commentary box with Aaron. And Aaron, like we hear from the drivers there, mixed performances, but
Yeah, no, he sounded like he was very thorough in his, approach to racing at Zolder. I think Bathurst is an entirely different environment to race in. And I feel like, if it's very similar in the way that the track is very small or confined, but you've got walls. There is essentially literally no runoff at Bathurst at the most important part, which is the mountains. So, if he's struggling there, he may well struggle at Bathurst. It's going to be interesting to see. Yes, he's got that straight line speed, but he's got to make it around the mountain. I feel like Aaron Walker is very low key knows that KTM is very good at Bathurst.
He's a cool customer, isn't he? He's clearly aware that he's got plenty of pace in that car.
Yeah, and I just love the way that he downplays, or he doesn't play it at all. He's not that he downplays it. He's like, he has no expectations, which I kind of feel like is a really good way to go into a race, because if you set your expectations way too high, you can get really frustrated with yourself if you're not meeting your own performance targets within the race. So he's starting 15th on the grid. He'll probably just arrive, he'll do the practice, he'll get the car set up, but whatever happens in that race happens. You really and sometimes it's out of your hands. I kind of feel like he'll do his best to adjust, because that's what he does. He adjusts really, really well, but some things are out of your control. So we'll see what happens at Bathurst for Aaron Walker.
And before we bring this broadcast to an end, Aaron, how have you found it up in the commentary box? Have you enjoyed watching on this GT4 competition as opposed to being stuck in the thick of it?
Keeps getting drive-throughs and it's not me. I'm loving it. I love watching other people and their demise. No, but it's been fantastic, and thank you for having me up here, Tim. It's been a great experience.
We'll look forward to having you back throughout the rest of this season. So thank you very much for joining us, Aaron, and thank you very much to those who have watched on the YouTube stream. It's been a pleasure to see all your comments throughout the race. If you're not already subscribed to the Simsport Racing channel, then please do, and hit the notification bell as well to keep up to date with all the racing action here on Simsport Racing, whether it be GT3 or GT4 or beyond. I've been Tim Fulbrook, joined in the commentary booth for the first time by Aaron Martin-Pilkington. Thanks once again to our broadcast director, 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗏 from Simsport Solutions. It was a scintillating start to the season at Zolder, and it's certainly going to kick off with a bang at Bathurst. I look forward to seeing you back here, same time, same place next week for round 2 of Simsport Racing's GT4 Championship. And until then, goodbye.